This, my friends, is the Shenandoah River. Wow. Down that way is Harpers Ferry. That is Virginia. At least I believe it's Virginia, yeah. And down that way where Cheese is at. More of the river. How about that? Hi friends. Today's adventure, we are in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. What you're looking across right there is John Brown's fort. That is the fort where John Brown, when he had his uprising, actually settled in, was surrounded by federal forces, and was captured. Harpers Ferry, whole rest of it. Well, we're gonna go through it. We're gonna explore it, see what it has to offer. So, let's go on an adventure. Let's have fun, guys. So, this is the lower town. We're gonna try to go to the higher town later. So, buildings over here. You have John Brown Museum, which is most of that big building over there. As you come down here, this is where the armories used to stand. Now, John Brown's raid, his whole goal was to form a slave uprising, steal weapons from the armory, which they did, and then start freeing slaves in neighboring areas. Well, as you can tell, they didn't get that far because that's the armory, and then that's where they got captured at. So they really didn't get that far. So this national park is in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, located at the very end of the what's it called, Eastern Panhandle. Earlier this morning we hiked about 2 miles of the Appalachian Trail, 1 mile down, 1 mile back. So you have Philip Frankel and Company, hats, boots, shoes, caps. Your general merchandise store. You have Provost, Marshall. You have Military District, Harpers Ferry. Got an industrial museum over there. Ooh, park information there. Oh, they're closed. Yeah. That's the museum there. They got restrooms over there. Their main gift shop's right there. Bookshop. So we will check back with you in a few minutes. But yeah, this is where we're at. We're at Harpers Ferry National Park. So, have fun, guys. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Industrial Museum. Oh, this is nice.
Large pieces fly at first, with the chips becoming smaller and smaller as the work progresses.
Making a gun.
Notice how the bright blues are smoothed with each pass, resulting in a fine rolling piece. The operator changes to smaller radius tracing units as the stuff takes its final shape. The cutter remains stationary while the stock moves left and right, much like a keymaking machine. 18 cheats are required to complete one stop.
How about that?
A rifle stop can be duplicated in about 9 minutes,
Huh.
as opposed to the 2 hours of manual
Yeah.
that was originally required.
That's one of the museums. So, we're in this building, and it shows us the original works that were here. You have the original foundations, original alleyway, you have a second alley, and then they show you where a third and a fourth story could have been. Wow. Like, we don't get to see much of this stuff. So, archaeologists, typically the ones who go and find these ruins. Historians love it too. Yeah, that's really cool. Wow, here's the John Brown Museum entrance. Like, taking all this for a second. Like, that's Jesus' big head.
Hey, my head's not that big.
Okay, let's go in.
On a remote farmstead 5 miles north of Harpers Ferry, Virginia, John Brown and his band of 21 abolitionists prepared for a strike against the institution of slavery. White and black alike, slaves, dreamers, and freemen, they come from all walks of life, bound by the belief that slavery can be stopped only by radical means. Throughout the summer of 1859, men and arms arrived at the isolated Kennedy farm under the cover of darkness to avoid the suspicion of neighbors. John Brown's daughter, Annie, and daughter-in-law, Martha, helped portray a typical domestic scene.
I was there to keep the outside world from discovering that John Brown and his men were in their neighborhood. Sometimes his times would remove the little ones that he'd seen coming, while the men were at the table eating. Good morning, Mrs. Hoffmaster. Nice of you to visit. How in the woods are in the woods?
In August, Dangerfield Beauty, one of Brown's men, receives a letter from his wife, a slave in Virginia. As autumn chilled the Potomac Valley, the raiders prepared for their mission. The time was at hand, time to stand up and be counted.
Are you ready to choose?
The Union Army in Arsenal and a score of 100,000.
Here's more looking around the city, lower city at least. Little train depot over here as well. That monument there is actually the site of the original John Brown fort. But eventually as time went on, it got torn down And then the one that we visited down on the bottom, the one that they said was the firehouse, that was John Brown's fort. Well, that's the recreated version of John Brown's fort. Now you have various little buildings down here. Whether Lewis was down there, he arrived in 1803. He oversaw the building of collapsible iron framed skin clad boats and acquired supplies, tomahawks, and rifles. He left for Pennsylvania on April 18th, returned on July 7th to gather material. Left the next day for Pittsburgh. He followed the Ohio to Falls and met William Clark for the trip to explore and study the land and features that would become, well, what was the Louisiana Purchase. I don't know. There's a lot to look at around here. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Might take you up in the upper city here in a few minutes. Anyways, see if we can go down there and look at some of the stores.